for 25 plus years. And the head of that club is actually King Charles himself. So in the evening time, we often see him up there at the front, stumbling around. He likes to stand at the very front. He's normally there with Camilla, and they like to reenact that scene from the Titanic. But ladies and gentlemen, just behind the Wellington there, you'll see a stone arch. It has the face of Old Father Thames on it. That arch marks the boundary point. We're about to leave behind the city of Westminster, and now we've just entered the city of London. You can see two silver dragons just over there on the roadside. They are positioned at all entry points to the city of London. On the right hand side now, you'll see a red brick building there and a tower with the windows that spell out OXO. A little fact for you now, it's illegal to advertise anything on the banks of the River Thames. You're going to see no McDonald's signs or no Starbucks signs, and that's because this is the King's Royal Highway. But you would be right in thinking, OXO? That's OXO to stop you. When the building owners were confronted about this, they said purely coincidence that their windows spell out the name of their product. They was actually taken to court for this situation, but they won the court case, and they've had free advertising on the River Thames ever since. Now ladies and gentlemen, slightly ahead of the boat this moment in time, again shortly coming into view for everybody. Over here on the left hand side, just coming into view now, you'll see a stone building over there with a sloped green roof. And that is actually the old City of London School for Boys. Although it's the old school, many greats have been to that school over the years. There's actually 4 statues of great students that have been to that school just underneath that green roof. I'm going to name these students now left to right. That first one we can see up there is Francis Bacon. That second one is William Shakespeare. That third one is Isaac Newton. And then that fourth one is David Beckham. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm just joking because David Beckham never went to school. The next bridges in front of us now are the Blackfriars Bridges. First one is Blackfriars Road Bridge, sorry. Second one is the Railway Bridge. Very shortly, when we're between both bridges, both sides of the boat, you're going to see the old red pillars. But these red pillars used to house the old railway bridge. That's when steam trains used to come into London. But with modern trains being longer and heavier, a new modern railway bridge was required. This is the road bridge. It actually says this point of the River Thames where the river water meets the seawater. So ladies and gentlemen, with that in mind, as we approach the road bridge, both sides of the boat, on the stone columns there, at the very top of the stone columns, you're going to see inland river birds carved into the top of the columns. But on the lower side of the bridge, carved into the columns, there's seagoing birds. So inland river birds on the upper side, seagoing birds on this lower side, and that's just to represent this part of the River Thames where they say the river water meets seawater. Don't be shy to turn your heads and you'll see the seagoing birds carved into the columns on the lower side. Like I say, just to represent this part of the River Thames where they say the river water meets the seawater. Ladies and once we're clear of Blackfriars Railway Bridge, in a moment's time on the left, you'll see the dome and cross of St Paul's Cathedral. And St Paul's Cathedral has the second largest freestanding dome in the world, and that's second St Peter's in the Vatican City of Rome. And St Paul's is actually 365 foot tall, nice easy number to remember, 1 foot for every day of the year. And St Paul's is actually open 7 days a week. But a little tip for you ladies and gentlemen, it's actually free to enter today on a Sunday. It's probably closed now, but it's actually free entry on a Sunday, and that's because it's a functioning church. They have a church service in there on a Sunday. It's a lovely little tip for you there, it's free to enter on a Sunday. You can actually climb the 500 spiral stairs to the top of the dome. They actually have a viewing platform at the very top, and they say the views are better from St Paul's than they are from the London Eye. On the right hand side just here, you'll see the old Bankside Power Station. But in recent years is now a modern art gallery. It's called the Tate Modern. And as the words say at the top, Tate Modern, free and open to all. So it's actually free to enter. So if you're into modern art, it's well worth a visit. If you're not into modern art, you'll very quickly realise why it's free to enter. Yeah, Macbeth, The Tempest, just to name a few. And even in summer months, you can still catch live performances of these plays in that theatre. It costs just £5 to enter, and can I say £5 in London is great value for live entertainment. It's also the only building here in London with a thatched roof. And that's because after the Great Fire of London in the year 1666, it then became illegal for any other building here in London to have a thatched roof other than Shakespeare's Globe. It's actually an open top theatre, so if you are planning a visit, pick a day like today where it's not raining, because if it is raining you will get wet, and so will the actors. But don't worry, the show will continue, and this is actually where they get the saying from, the show must go on. The next bridge in front of us now is Suffolk Road Bridge, but it's actually known in London as London's Quiet Bridge. It's London's least used bridge for vehicles and pedestrians, and it's just because of the maze of narrow one-way roads that lead to this bridge, it can be a bit awkward to find. So it's normally only used by professional drivers like bus drivers and taxi drivers. So as we do approach this bridge, if you do see anybody up there, just give them a little wave. They're probably lost. They're probably lost. But now, ladies and gentlemen, once we're the other side of the road bridge, maybe the most important building I'm going to show you today, it's going to be on the right-hand side, just before the next bridge. Very shortly, you'll see a brown building over there with the red windows. And this is the Anchor Pub. It's the oldest pub here in London. There's been a pub on that site for more than 400 years. And it's also rumoured that Shakespeare used the attic of that pub as a dressing room for his nearby Shakespeare's Theatre. Many celebrities visit this pub, and me and the captain will go here shortly after work. But we go here after work to do research. Research about the River Thames to tell you, lovely ladies and gentlemen, more facts about it. It can be very thirsty work, and sometimes we spend so long in that pub we forget all the research we've done, and we have to go back the next day to do it all again. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is not the prettiest bridge here in London. However, it's the oldest railway bridge. It's Cannon Railway Street, built in the year 1866, the oldest railway bridge here on the River Thames. Ladies and gentlemen, once we are clear of the railway bridge, slightly ahead of the boat, over there on the left, above the stone buildings there, you'll see a monument with a golden candle on it. That golden candle over there actually marks the location of the bakery where the Great Fire of London started in the year 1666. So let's say the golden candle you can see in the distance over there actually pinpoints the location of the bakery where the Great Fire of London started all them many years ago. I actually had somebody ask me the other day if the bakery's still over there. It's not. Next bridge in front of us now, this is London Bridge, not to be confused with Tower Bridge, this is London Bridge. It's the oldest bridge here on the river. As you have it on the right hand side, you'll see the shard of glass. Not to worry if you missed it, as we come out the other side, you will see the shard of glass. This is Europe's tallest building. And if you're brave enough to go up to the 70th floor, they have a viewing platform up there. And on a clear day like today, you can see up to 50 miles away. Also have many award-winning restaurants on that top floor. And if you are here in London looking for property, they have a few penthouses available at the very top. One of them recently sold to the singer-songwriter will.i.am for the price tag of £30 million. But now, ladies and gentlemen, also there on the right, you see London Bridge Hospital. That is London's most private and most expensive hospital. They only actually deal with two things inside that building. That's broken bones and heart attacks. You go in there with a broken bone, then they give you the bill, and then you have the heart attack. Ladies and gentlemen, if you do want to go to the top of the shard, it will cost you about £40–45 to go to the very top. But over here on the left, you're going to see a skyscraper there that we've nicknamed the walkie-talkie. And unlike the shard, that building has a free viewing platform just up there on the very top floor. It's called the Sky Garden. So if you are interested in this, ladies and gentlemen, search the Sky Garden on your phone. You're best to book in advance, but like I say, a lovely little tip for you there. That building has a free viewing platform for you all to enjoy. It's called the Sky Garden if you are interested. Now, ladies and gentlemen, over here on the right-hand side, slightly ahead of the boat, not sure if you can all see it because it's recently had a new coat of camouflage paint, but you may be able to see the vessel C35 or codename C35, also known as the HMS Belfast. Great naval ship of ours, one of the first ships to fire its guns on D-Day. Now floating museum here in London, well worth a visit if you have a couple of extra hours spare. You can explore the many decks of that ship, 9 decks in total. Like I say, lots of history on board. That ship was also built in the same shipyard as the ill-fated Titanic. And that's the shipyard of Harland and Wolff, and that's actually in Belfast, Northern Ireland. Now, ladies, you may now see the bridge directly in front of us. This is Tower Bridge, but no need to stand up or rush forward. The captain just told me he's in a good mood. He's going to take us closer to the bridge and then he's going to turn the boat sideways. So he's going to give everybody a lovely photo opportunity of Tower Bridge right here from the River Thames. So like I say, no need to stand up or rush forward. The captain's going to take us right close to the bridge so we can all get that perfect photograph. Tower Bridge was actually built in the year 1894 and it was built in the Gothic style to blend in with its neighbour, the Tower of London. And the centre bascles of Tower Bridge actually lift to allow larger ships into London. And this bridge will lift 364 days a year. There's just one day a year it will not lift, and that's the day of the London Marathon. And that's because this bridge marks the halfway point for the 40,000 runners that run across it. But me personally, I think it'd make the race a little bit more interesting if they did lift the bridge on this day, especially if I was sitting indoors watching it on telly. Ladies and gentlemen, before we do turn the boat round, over on the other side of the river there, left-hand side, you'll see the Tower of London itself. That was built in the year 1078 by William the Conqueror, and this has been many things over the years: a place of execution, a royal zoo, a royal mint. However, it's now mostly famous as it's home to the crown jewels. And we do get lots of guests asking us, where's the famous bloody tower? Well, we can't bloody see it because it's behind them bloody trees. But what we can see the words on the river wall over there. It says entry to the Traitor's Gate. And that is known in London as London's first one-way system. This is where many people that met their final demise. They'd been rowed through that gate on a boat. However, they would not have been receiving a commentary. On the other side of that gate, the executioner would have been waiting for them for such crimes like treason. So ladies and gentlemen, as promised, we're about to turn the boat round. As we do so, perfect photo opportunity now of Tower Bridge right here from the River Thames. Many places in London will try and sell you this photo on a postcard for £5. You lovely ladies and gentlemen are able to capture this photo now for free. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, there's a red double-decker bus just about to pass over the bridge. If you can capture a photo of Tower Bridge with that red double-decker bus in the middle of the bridge, let's say this is a very iconic photo here in London. I hope you was all able to capture that photo. And because